everyone. I'm Matt Williamson at Williamson NFL. How's it going? Yeah, probably not so great. Tough loss, rough showing by the Steelers. Competitive game. They did not get beat badly, but it's a bad loss. Obviously, none are great. I do have a respect for the Bears team, although there are a lot of concerns with the Steeler team as well. I think they're a very average football team, to be very honest with you, and showed it here. Now, it doesn't destroy them in that it's an NFC game, but Baltimore won, and the AFC's heating up, and they're just not playing all that well. I mean, particularly on offense. Today was the passing game. Well, defense I thought was bad today, but I mean, just across the last few games. Let's dig into some of these stats. There weren't a lot of halftime ones I wanted to talk about, but I do want to buzz through some of the final ones, and then I got a bunch of bullet points. And then, as usual, tomorrow I'll go even deeper, and then we'll move on, because that's what you got to do. But Rudolph was 24-31. That sounds great, but only for 171 yards. One touch, one pick. Caleb Williams did some really good things, but also missed a lot of throws, I thought. He was 19-35 for 239. 3 touchdowns, though. No interceptions. That's key. Kenny Gainwell, I got to give this guy credit. I know one big play was obviously a smidge fluky. We'll just call it that on the fake tush push. But hey, that was pretty creative play call. I liked it. 10 for 92 on the ground, 6 for 30 through the air. But he produces every time he's out there. He's been a real pleasant surprise. Warren, 18 for 68. And collectively, I thought those guys were pretty darn good. Especially when you consider no Steeler pass catcher had more than 36 receiving yards today. That's really bad. I mean, you got Metcalf, and I mean, come on, man. Steelers only had 1 sack, but they allowed 2. Steelers created 22 first downs compared to 19 for Chicago. They were good on third downs, 8 of 14. Bears were 7 of 13, though. Fourth downs were a killer, 1 for 3. The Bears were 1 for 1. Steelers did have more plays, though, than their opponent, 69 as opposed to 61. So for the first time in possession and plays and those type of things worked in their favor. That's something to hang your hat on. 345 yards compared to 328 for the Bears. Yards per play, though, they were below the Bears. Chicago was at 5-4. Steelers were at 5-0. But 186 rushing yards. Again, one of them was a big play, but still, that counts. And he ran for 186 yards today against a not-so-great run defense. I get that. Bears had 99 on the ground, and they're a really good run offense. Yards per rush, 5.2 compared to 4.0 for Chicago. Each team had two turnovers, as I'm sure you know, one of which resulted in a score for the Steelers. Time of possession, though, 33:09. First time we've been able to say something like that. And the Bears were at 26:51. Steelers completed 77% of their passes, where the Bears only completed 54. So the numbers tell a lot of this story, and I start there a lot, but I have a lot more takes here. We'll get to those in a moment.
Football season's finally here. Time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Think the Steelers are headed to the Super Bowl? Lock in your bets today. Whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials, so you can join in on all the action.
Zero downfield passing acumen whatsoever. I mean, Austin's fast, Metcalf's fast. You have tight ends. I mean, they're only throwing go balls. This looks like Russell Wilson. I mean, and there's only a few, and no intermediate passing, no over the middle of passing. But give me a minute on that. I mean, that's really the crux of my angst today, to be honest with you. But it's just a non-explosive offense. And Rudolph's deep passing was frankly awful. I mean, I blame him a lot on not completing some of those, but I also didn't see a lot of open receivers. But they're also not real creative down the field either. Go ball, go ball. I mean, that is brutal. So he was very accurate on short passes. 16 of 17 when traveling 10 yards or fewer. Of course, you're going to have a higher percentage, but still he only had 1 incompletion. but only 1 of 6 on passing on throws longer than 10 yards down the field. He only had 6 passes past 10 yards. I mean, this is like every week. And his only interception also came past 10 yards. Now, here's my big thing. And frankly, the defense was a lot to blame today. But I'm putting this chart, I'm putting Rudolph's passing tree out there as chart. And they don't ever, no matter who the quarterback is, whomever the coordinator is, they never attack the middle of the field. Now, this has to be a Tomlin thing. I mean, there's just too many other variables that have come and gone, because it's really been Ben since his prime that they do not attack the middle of the field, especially past 10 yards. And I understand, and I'm sure he's petrified, Tomlin, of bad things happen there. That's when turnovers occur, all that stuff. But you just can't compete in today's NFL when the whole world knows you're not going to throw in the middle of the field. And you built this thing around tight ends. And even worse, their top 3 linebackers were out. Like, I felt like every pass should be attacking those linebackers. That's my biggest problem of everything that's going wrong at the moment, is what are you doing? I mean, the whole world knows you're only throwing outside the numbers now or short. There's a lot of grass that they just don't attack. And if you had one quarterback like Russell Wilson, for example, who's just never did that well, is short, that's not his specialty, fine. But it's one guy after another, one coordinator after another. And it was just exemplified today, because that's exactly where you should attack the Bears without their top 3 linebackers. Why'd you build an offense around tight ends if you're never going to throw in the middle of the field? That I just can't wrap my head around. All right, some other notes, though, and these aren't all bad. I mean, this was a very competitive game, and I do think the Bears are pretty good, especially on offense. I thought Gainwell and Warren were excellent. And I think the run game is showing a lot of life against a bad run defense. But I've really been calling for the Chargers, the Bengals, this game. Just keep running. Just keep running. And we definitely saw more signs of that, as well as a lot more success. And it wasn't just the one big play. This was a very successful running day. That's promising. And I never would have thought that they were the better running team today. But they absolutely were. So give the Steelers run defense and run offense a lot of credit, because the Bears were like the second or third best run offense in the league, and the Steelers were one of the worst. However, this also goes back to the middle of the field thing. I'm going to look into the numbers, some of these advanced numbers you can't find right away. But I didn't see hardly any play action, except for late in the game on like 3rd and 10 when there was no chance of using it, despite the strong run game. So I think it was the last 3rd down of the day, one of the second to last play. It was. They have this long developing play action whenever no one on the planet thinks you're going to run the ball. But for the most part today, I didn't see much play action, despite running the ball really well. Play action, middle of the field. I mean, that should have been what you're doing the whole time, especially when you're running it that well. I also didn't understand. I love Darnell Washington. You guys know that. But by far their most dangerous pass rusher is Montez Sweat, who they gave up a lot for. He's a really good player. He had 2 sacks, but they were alone against Darnell Washington. Despite him being 300 and whatever pounds, he's still a tight end. He's not a tackle, contrary to popular belief. And there was at least one instance, and probably more when I go back and watch the tape, of Sweat alone on a running back. Now, I'm not saying you treat him like Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons, and the defensive coaches get paid too to scheme their guy up and whatnot, but that can't happen several times where their most dangerous guy is not being blocked by an offensive lineman. Here's a couple little nuggets here. We talked about how Ramon Wilson was the number 2 receiver a week ago. This week, though, it was back to Calvin Austin as the number 2. Wilson played 10.8% of the 12 personnel snaps. That's with 2 receivers on the field. And about 72% when there was 11 personnel, 3 receivers on the field. So basically he was out there 11% with 2 receivers on the field. This just means to me that there's going back and forth between Austin and Wilson and flat out are searching, that they just don't like either, or neither is an answer. And I tend to agree. Don't get me wrong. I think these guys are 3s and 4s, good 4s, bad 3s. Neither is close to a 2. And Metcalf isn't a 1. Darnell Washington played 78% of the third down snaps out of 11 personnel after playing 85% last week. So he's a foundation, and I'm great with that. Because in these situations, these key situations, he only played 15% of those in the first 10 weeks. So he only does play half the snaps when there's 2 tight ends on the field. So I understand that. I know they want to mix all 3 guys in. The fact that he plays a high percentage when there's only one, the cut to the chase is he plays a high percentage of snaps when there's only 1 tight end on the field. Great. But he plays a 50% or so when there's 2. Plays all of them basically when there's 3. I guess I can live with that. But I mean, I think they've clearly realized that this guy is super important and they needed to boost his usage over these last couple weeks. And I think anybody could see that, but I just wanted to back that up. I'm a fan of Kyle Duggar, but he got picked on, and middle of the field coverage for the Steelers was bad. And this is also a trend, not nearly as disturbing as the middle of the field offense passing game is really bad or non-existent. I don't even know if it's good or bad because you never even see it. But the middle of the field defense in the passing game was rough. And these advanced offensive coordinators like Ben Johnson will attack there over and over. And Williams missed a few throws, or it could have been noticeably worse. And Duggar's, we knew this when they got Duggar. He's more of a downhill player. He's not a great coverage guy, but this was not his best day. I want to double check this, but just on first blush, the Steelers are using this Peyton Wilson, Malik Harrison rotation like they did last year with Landon Roberts. And I kind of hate it because these good coordinators are just going to throw when Harrison's out there and run when Wilson's out there. And Harrison's terrible in coverage. He just doesn't cover any ground. I don't think Wilson's terrible in run defense. So can't we just go with Wilson and Queen basically all the time and use Harrison here and there in an extra package or goal line or whatever? I just think he's on the field too much for today's NFL, especially with all the middle of the field stuff. Another major coverage bust, which makes me question scheme. And I guess there were some quotes that came out of the locker room that weren't real flattering about the defensive scheme, but a major coverage bust on that DJ Moore touchdown. I mean, everyone's just looking around at each other. Like, I thought we were kind of past that after Ramsey and Duggar were installed at safety. And I'm not saying that those two are entirely to blame, but it happens way too much. A big topic this week was, is it going to be Slay starting or Pierre starting? How are they going to do things? Well, it was the Pierre show the whole time. I have not seen snap counts, but I bet he played basically every snap. And Slay really only entered the game when Porter got injured. So good. That I like. I mean, I thought for sure, I almost said I thought for sure they were going to screw it up. I thought for sure they'd go the other way. And I'm glad that they gave Pierre that opportunity, and we'll double check that. But still, it was the right way to handle it in my move. I would have liked the Steelers' pass rush to be more impactful. Now, we know Williams is a hold the ball guy. He's very, very hard to sack now. He's hard to deal with. And I'm sure that there was some mush rush stuff, to keep him kind of bottled up. And he didn't kill you with his legs. But they had their third string left tackle. You got a really good defensive front. I would have liked more impact for sure from the Steeler pass rush in this game. A couple other notes. It was a bad day for Waitman, the punter. When you needed him most, he kicked a 33-yarder. Ugh. And only averaged 35.3 for the day. Bad. And it wasn't like it was windy and nasty. It was a beautiful day in Chicago. We have some injuries to discuss. All I really know is Metcalf has an ankle. Porter has a hip. Jones, the left tackle, has stinger. We'll see deep into the week here how long those are a problem, but Porter and Jones did not return, and DK was kind of in and out. And as we do, let's at least give the Bears some credit. I don't think they're one of the best teams in the league, but they've won 4 in a row. They're a first-place team, and they've won 8 out of 9 games. And you look at those 9 games, there are not high-quality opposition. And we talked about that leading up to the game. That's 1,000% true. But you win 8 out of 9 in this league, you got to kind of tip your cap a little bit. And again, I opened the show with this, and I'll close it with it. This, to me, is a average Steeler football team. They're probably somewhere between the 14th and 18th best team in the league. They rarely put things together, but this also was not all bad. I mean, everything on Twitter is terrible, terrible, fire, kill, burn the place down, etc. It definitely was not all bad, but it was another frustrating loss. And now, with the Ravens winning, you're tied for first place with them. They're on a rampage right now. I don't think the Ravens are as good as what they've looked in terms of win-loss lately since Lamar's been back, but they're playing a lot better than the Steelers. And your next game is against the Bills team that's coming off 10 days of rest. And you still got 2 against the Ravens. And I think the Steelers are in trouble. I mean, if we were to say, do you think the Steelers are going to the playoffs or not, as I record this on Sunday night, I would definitely say no. I would pick the Ravens to win the division. You look around the AFC and, Kansas City wins. And, there's a lot of teams that are in it that are playing better football than the Steelers. So a disconcerting game for sure. Again, not all terrible. I mean, I know doom and gloom, and no matter what happens, if they win or lose, it's always doom and gloom when they lose. But a couple of things like that middle of the field stuff just makes my brain hurt. So I'll leave it there. We'll get back at this tomorrow, everyone. Take care. Thank you.